Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's a new year and I decided that I wanted to clean out my Goodreads TBR. I only have slightly over 200 books on my Goodreads TBR, and I know that is 10 times less than some people have. However, I feel like there's a lot of books on there that I'm not sure if I will ever actually read them or not. My current Goodreads reading goal for this year is 75 books, and I calculated that if I read 75 books every year and I only read books from my Goodreads TBR, it would take me 3 years to read them all. There are also some books I'm interested in reading that aren't on my Goodreads TBR, and not a single sequel is on my Goodreads TBR. I only have standalones on there or books that are the first in a series. So realistically, my TBR is actually larger than 200 something, and obviously every single year I'm going to be adding more books to it when I see more books that interest me. So for this video, I want you to trash my TBR. This is a very popular video format. I'm going to tell you some books from my Goodreads TBR that I'm on the fence about, and I want you to tell me if I should read them or not. A lot of these books are young adult fantasy because I added a lot of those when I first joined BookTube. I enjoy fantasy, but it's not one of my most read genres, and also I'm gravitating away from young adult a bit. I still have some that I'm interested in reading, but it's not something that I'm always excited to pick up, and a lot of young adult books that I read, they're okay for me, but not great. I think I'm primarily more so interested in adult now, but if you guys think that any of these books I'm going to mention are actually really good, let me know. After you have watched this video and heard all the books that I want to discuss, I would love, absolutely love if you could hit up that comment section down below and let me know 3 books from this list that either you really liked and would like to see me read, or that you think might fit my reading interests. And I would like it if you could also tell me 3 books from this list that you disliked and don't think are worth my time, or maybe that you just think I personally wouldn't like based off what you've seen of me on my channel. Based off what you guys comment, I will decide which of these books to keep on the TBR and which ones to trash. This should be a lot of fun, so let's get into the books. I think I have around 25 that I want to mention in this video, so let's get into it. First up, the 2 oldest books on my Goodreads TBR. These 2 go together because they're both by the same author. I'm talking about Dark Places by Gillian Flynn and Gone Girl. I know, you might be surprised that I haven't read Gone Girl. I've seen the movie, I really liked the movie. So originally I was going to read the book, but is it really worth reading if you already know what's going to happen? Would like to hear your thoughts on that. As for Dark Places, this is the book that's been on my TBR the longest, and I haven't read it yet. Do you think I will like this one? I have read Sharp Objects, gave it 3 stars, I thought it was okay, didn't absolutely love it. Do you think I would like either of these? Next up, The Diviners by Lippa Bray, another really popular BookTube series. Originally, I was interested in reading this because I heard so many good things about it on BookTube. Now I don't know if I'm really motivated to pick this series up. I am interested in the fact that it takes place during the 1920s, I believe, which is, I think, a pretty cool era to read about. But do you think this series is actually something I would like? Next up, I actually wanted to discuss a book from my own TBR, and that is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This series used to be insanely popular, and I never hear anyone talk about it anymore. This follows a romance between 2 men in a historical setting, and the sequel, I believe, follows an asexual main character, which really intrigued me because there are not nearly enough books with asexual representation. However, despite the fact that I've owned this for years, I've never felt inspired to read it. Do you think I would actually like this or not? Next up is actually another series that I added to my TBR because I heard it had asexual representation, and that's Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. I would really like to read some more books with positive ace rep. However, I don't know if the plot of this really interests me as much. This is a portal fantasy where children are transported to other worlds. I just don't know if that's the sort of thing that I would really like, but I do want to read some books with asexual rep. So for people who have read this, do you think the plot would interest me? Does it seem like the kind of thing that I would read? Then Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I've heard mixed reviews about this series on BookTube. I believe once I did read the first chapter when I was deciding what books to read for a certain month several years ago, and I did enjoy the beginning, but I've heard a lot of people say that this series was disappointing, so if you've read it, would really like to hear your thoughts and if you think it's worth my time. Then The Thousandth Floor by Katherine McGee. I've heard this is a guilty pleasure sort of young adult series, characters behaving badly, a lot of drama, intrigue, and it takes place in a futuristic world with a bunch of wealthy teens living on the 1,000th floor of this skyscraper. I believe there's also a bit of a mystery plotline. I think one of their friends dies. So at the time that I added this to my TBR, really sounded interesting to me. But now I kind of wonder, is it going to be poorly written? Is 22, almost 23-year-old me not going to like this? Maybe 16-year-old me would have loved this book, but I don't know if adult me still will. Then I have Bring Me Their Hearts by Sarah Wolf. To be honest, I don't remember what made me add this to my TBR, and I was going to just delete it outright, but the rating is actually really high. It has over 4 stars on Goodreads. Has anyone actually read this series? Is it good? Would really like to hear some reviews because I don't think I've heard anybody talk about this book, but the rating is surprisingly high. Next is the start of another series that I think maybe I would have liked when I was in high school, but I'm not sure if I would like it today. That's The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I know this was a very popular series on BookTube several years ago. Honestly, the title makes me cringe. I think it's super cheesy. This does have an interesting concept where we follow a princess who I believe is trying to escape her arranged marriage, and then we also follow the perspective of 2 other characters, one of whom is the prince she was supposed to marry, and the other is a hitman who was sent to murder her, and the reader doesn't know which one is which. That is really interesting to me, and I think it could be fun to try to predict which one is which. But is this just going to be a young adult series that doesn't translate well to adulthood? Now, there are quite a few books on this list that I originally added to my TBR because the author is on AuthorTube and I enjoyed their videos. First, The Savior's Champion by Jenna Moreci. I have watched several of her videos. I am subscribed to her and I enjoyed them, so I thought maybe I would check out her book. However, I don't know if I've ever actually heard somebody review this book, so is it actually good? Do you think I would like it? I haven't heard anybody review this book on BookTube. Next up, another popular young adult fantasy on BookTube, Girls of Paper and Fire. This is a young adult fantasy that I believe is inspired by Asian culture and or mythology, and it features a sapphic romance. However, I feel like this book was popular several years ago and nobody talks about it as much anymore. Am I too late to the game? Do you think I would like this? Another author whose YouTube videos I really enjoy is Alexa Dunn. I love her videos, and so I added to my TBR 2 of her books, Brightly Burning and The Stars We Steal. These are both sci-fi retellings of 2 classics that I really enjoy, Jane Eyre and Persuasion. So that had me intrigued because I like Alexa Dunn's videos and I like the source material that these 2 were based off of. However, I've heard pretty negative reviews about these books, so that gives me pause. Next, Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevre. This is another young adult fantasy, I guess. It's set in medieval France, and it follows what are basically assassin nuns. They're young women who are trained to kill people, which is such an intriguing concept. However, despite the fact that this has been on my TBR for years, I've never made any concrete plans to start this series, and I don't know. I've never felt inspired to pick these up, but if you guys in the comments section tell me that they're really awesome, then I will probably check out the first book. The next book I wanted to talk about was The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. I tried to read this once, didn't make it past the first chapter. This is a young adult mystery thriller, and very rarely do young adult mystery thrillers ever impress me. So I don't know if I'm actually gonna like this. If you've read it, let me know if it's a good book or not. Next up, I'm gonna discuss these together because they're both young adult fantasy books that I don't remember why I added them to my TBR. Those are The Glass Spare by Laura DiStefano, I think that's her name, and Rosemarked by Livia Blackburn. I don't even know what these are about. Why did I add them to my TBR? I don't remember what made me want to read these. Honestly, I don't think I've ever even seen anybody on BookTube talk about them, at least not in the past several years. So if you watching this have actually read these, let me know, are they any good? What are they even about? I think Rosemarked might deal with some kind of disease, which might hit too close to home nowadays. Another young adult fantasy that I don't know if I will ever actually read is Give the Dark My Love by Beth Revis. This is the first in a duology, and it deals with necromancy. However, it also seems like it is very romance heavy, which is not really my favorite thing. I especially think that romance is often done poorly in young adult books because I feel like the relationships are not developed enough. If you've read this book, I would really like to know, how much does the romance play a part in the plot, and is it a good romance? There's The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg, which I believe I added because it has a plot very similar to the TV show Westworld, which I watched for I think one season and then didn't really continue. I kind of lost interest. So if you've read this book, I would really like to know if you think it's worth my time. Does it bring anything new to the table? Now we have another author whose AuthorTube videos I used to really enjoy. She doesn't make YouTube videos anymore, I believe, but I used to watch Nadine Brandis's videos, and so I wanted to read two of her books, Romanov and Fawkes, which I actually own. However, I started reading this, I read a couple chapters, and I wasn't really feeling it. So I don't know if I'm really going to enjoy these or not. I would like to hear from people who actually read the entire book. Does it get better? That sounded mean, I'm sorry. Now, this is a book that I'm still interested in reading, however my library doesn't have it, which means if I wanted to read it, I would have to purchase it, and I'm just not sure it's worth it. That's The Arrangement by Robin Harding. I first heard about this book on Books and Lala's channel, and it's a thriller that follows a young woman who I believe becomes a sugar baby. Can't believe I just said sugar baby. But do you think this book is good enough to warrant me purchasing it? Now, I've told myself many a time that I wasn't gonna read Sarah Shepard's books anymore. The Elizas was just god-awful. It was terrible. So I would like to hear from you all. Should I read Reputation by Sarah Shepard? The Goodreads rating is dismal. Is this book also really weird like The Elizas was? Because if it's weird, I don't want to read it. The penultimate book I want to discuss in this video is Have You Seen Me by Kate White, a thriller with a really interesting premise, but a bad Goodreads rating. I really haven't heard many people talk about this book, so if you out there have actually read it, let me know if you enjoyed it or not. And finally, the last book that I want you all to trash is The Sin Eater by Megan Campisi? I don't remember her last name now, I apologize. But I heard about this book from Emma from Drinking by My Shelf. I really enjoy her videos, and so this book sounded interesting to me. I saw that she really liked it. However, while I love her videos, I think a lot of times the books that I dislike, she likes. And books that I like, she doesn't. So I don't know if I have the same tastes as her. Just because you like somebody's videos doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to always agree with their bookish opinions. And this is another book where I want to know, is it really weird? Because generally speaking, I don't like weird books. So those are all books on my TBR that I am on the fence about. If you have read these books, let me know in the comments what you thought of them. Based on your comments, I will decide what books to keep on my TBR and which ones to trash. Once again, I would really appreciate it if you could let me know in the comment section 3 books on this list that you want to see me read and 3 books that you don't think I would like. That would really help me out immensely. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, please give a big thumbs up. That would mean so much to me. And subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every single Wednesday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. I'm always accepting more Goodreads friend requests. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a pleasing rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.